Bonjour mon petit chifle, Amber here, and today today is December 10th, 2020. Oh, a year ago today I was in Dublin meeting Maggie for the first time, about to see the 1975. Anyway, that's not what I'm here for today. Today is January 10th. Oh my god, I just said it. And I still have not filmed my December reading wrap up, so that's what I'm going to do. Also, what I'm going to do, I actually am kind of in a rush today. I am preparing to go to a book event. I'm going up to Neshaminy Mall for the Reverie signing with Ryan LaSala. I'm really excited about that. So I figured I'd do like a fun little 2-in-1. I need to film, but I also need to put on a face. Get ready with me reading wrap up. I know I'm not the first person to ever do this. I know it's been done many times, but I'm lazy. I'm not lazy. I'm lazy. And I have about an hour before I have to leave. So I have no idea what I'm doing with my eyes, because I wanted to do like a blue eye look to go with the book cover, but I'm also wearing green. So maybe I'll do like a bluey green look, which goes with Reverie and the Sailor Scouts. Yeah, maybe that's what I'll do. Okay, I don't know how to do this. If I'm kind of everywhere, it's because I'm trying to figure out how to film a 2-in-1 video. So, ooh, actually, where's my setting spray? Hold on. Okay, so the last time I did a get ready with me, I was getting ready to go to the Jonas Brothers concert. Update, it was incredible. So not much has changed. Nothing at all has changed since, as far as like base makeup, since then. I haven't gotten my eyebrows done since the summer, so we're just gonna ignore that. The only thing that's different is today I don't have any primer. I'm out of that milk primer. I've been meaning to get some more. So we're going right in with foundation, and like last time, it's the Fenty, what's this called? Pro Filter Hydrating Longwear Foundation. Mine is in the shade 320. Let me take off my glasses. And I am still really loving this foundation. I don't put on a ton of it. I don't know why I put it on my forehead. I stopped really wearing foundation on my forehead. And I don't put any on my nose, in case you wanted to know. Although I probably should today because my pores are a little clogged. I also have started mixing some setting spray in right before I blend in the foundation. So I've implemented a lot more setting spray into my base routine. So while we are blending, the first book that I finished reading in December, I read 9 books in December. The first book I read was an ebook. It was another adult contemporary romance. That was kind of really my vibe for December. Most of these books will be adult contemporary romances, and I thought I'd pick up another Tessa Bailey book because I thus far have like really enjoyed her, two other Tessa Bailey books I'd read. And this one was Major's Welcome Home by Tessa Bailey. And this one follows, what is her name? Kenna. Follows Kenna and Beck. Kenna is the daughter of this like really high-ranking official in the military. She grew up basically on the base, and at the start of the story she is going to pick up Beck, who has just returned from overseas, and he has no one there to welcome him home, so she goes about it, and basically she's just drawn in by how like lonely he seems to be, and she hates the fact that no one is there to welcome him home. She, I guess, forms this like connection with him, and he's obviously instantly attracted to her. I'm going in with the Fenty Pro Filter Concealer, which is also in the shade 320. And then it's basically their relationship, That's way too much more than I usually use. I don't know why I did that. She usually doesn't like date any of the, or isn't ever interested in any of the guys on the base, probably because one, her father is like this head honcho, this big whatever. Also, Beck is a virgin, and he, I don't want to spoil too much, but he's not a virgin for very long. Anyway, long story short, I gave this book a 2 out of 5 stars, and it just didn't do it for me at all. Of course, it was, as I like to say, spicy. There were the very Tessa Bailey-esque sex scenes. While I'm letting my foundation dry down, I'm going to contour as usual with the Anastasia Beverly Hills foundation stick, and this is Mink, which is their contour shade. What was I saying? Oh, it just didn't do it for me. I'm good. Like I was saying, it's very spicy, very spicy, but there's also a lot with this book that just didn't sit right with me. It did not sit right in my spirit. Like the fact of how possessive Beck, and like aggressively possessive Beck was, especially considering the speed with which this story takes place, like how quickly their romance kicks off. Dude, what? Also weird to me how he goes from this like sort of awkward virgin, right, in like the sexy scenes, to yes, I'm daddy, blah 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 blah, like this very aggressive dominant guy, and I'm like, bruh. I think it's because of how fast everything seems to move. It doesn't sit right with me. I don't like it. I don't like it. I don't want any parts of it. And then the way the book ended, look, okay, here we go. I need to talk about it, so I'm gonna put my finger up, and when I put my finger down, the spoiler will be finished. The book ends with her choosing to leave and go back to Georgia with him after, I don't know, not a couple weeks maybe. And then the epilogue jumps to, I don't know how long, much longer, where they're living on his little peach farm. And then she comes out to meet him on the orchard. Oh, he's working with the dudes. And they're basically talking about how like she wants, or no, she goes out there and they end up having sex in the peach orchard, which bizarrely isn't the issue here. The issue is, this is my favorite part, where he goes, I wanted the first time to be in our bed. And she said, what? The first time I got you pregnant. Let me blend out. Let me sort out my concealer before I have a meltdown. This book, hard pass. I'm good. Thank you though. Let's move on. I'm gonna, ow, I'm stabbing myself in the eye. That's fine. Can never get this corner to blend out, so I always have to go in with my finger. Oh, also, while we're here, my brushes need to be cleaned, so I would greatly appreciate it if you pretended that you didn't notice. Thanks so much. So, the next book that I finished in December was a reread in preparation for the sequel. I downloaded the audiobook for Children of Blood and Bone by Tomi Adeyemi, which we all know is one of my favorite books, so I don't really need to talk about that too much. I just re-listened to it to prepare for the release of the sequel, like I just said, and also the launch of the sequel. Is that look? Am I right? So, you don't know, Children of Blood and Bone follows Zaylee, she remembers the time where magic existed in her world, and she also remembers the day that it was taken away, and basically she somehow gets caught up in this quest to bring back magic, paired up with Amari, who is the princess of Orisha, and on the other side of that coin is Inan, Amari's brother, crown prince, and he's like a general or something of the guard of the whatever, and he is basically tasked to find Amari, kill Zelly, stop magic from coming back. So that's their story. I'm not doing it justice. I don't have the time. I've already read the book, so if you'd like to, I'll link the reading vlog where I read the book the first time and talked about it. I'll also link the Goodreads down below, but I love the book so much. It just means a lot to me. Obviously, if you're a regular watcher of my videos, you know this, but if you are not, I have a Children of Blood and Bone tattoo. I'm not gonna struggle with the sleeve right now. And then, as I've been talking about, I followed that up with Children of Virtue and Vengeance. This isn't the copy that I read. This just came in the mail yesterday. This is the Waterstones UK exclusive edition with the sprayed edges, and I'm... Whew. Okay, so like I just briefly explained what CBB is about. This picks up shortly, maybe like a month after the events of the first book. I'm about to bronze with, do I want to bronze or I'm going to do my brows actually first. And for that, I am starting with the Fenty brow pencil. Have I mentioned that Rihanna owns my wallet? Because she does. And Fenty just released, or just announced, that they're dropping a mascara. So just let me breathe for a second, Rihanna. What if you start making music again and stop trying to steal all my money? So like I was saying, CBB picks up about a month after the events of CBB, and I'm not really going to go too much into that plot because it would spoil a lot for book one. But this book was a roller coaster. I spent entirety of the book either screaming or crying, and I have a lot of theories for book 3. And Tomi, I don't want to have to fight her, but I will if I need to. These books just mean a lot to me. I always say this every time I've gotten to talk to Tomi, that I wish I had these books when I was a kid, to be able to like see people that look like me and my friends and my family in these fantastical situations, having magic, defeating evil. I grew up with the generation of Harry Potter, but it just would have been so beneficial to really have something on the same scale, basically, but where I'm a part of it too. I just love these books. I love the story. Also, like I mentioned this before, on the same scale, I wish I had this when I was younger. Also, when it comes to writing, because similarly to what Tomi said a lot, when I was, for a long time, writing, I realized I wasn't writing main characters that really reflected me. I was writing colorless or white main characters, basically, whether or not I realized it or not. So it's just means a lot. I love the books. I love the story. There are very few stories where I've been so, I'm really approaching Frida Kahlo, and I'm not entirely mad about it, or I've been so fully engrossed and invested as I am in this saga, and I don't know what's going to happen to me after book 3, after it's all over. But I'm setting my eyebrows with the ColourPop what is this called? Brow Boss Gel. This is dark brown. There's like a soft black, which I prefer because I have very dark brows. they were out of that when I got it. So, and I desperately needed brow gel. So then I kind of fell into a slump or hit a wall when it came to fantasy and YA. I tried to read The Beautiful a couple times by Renee Attia, and I eventually just put it down because I was getting frustrated. I do intend to pick it back up, but I didn't want to force myself through it and then risk ruining my experience reading it. So instead, I went back to adult contemporary romance, and particularly I decided it was time to hit up some of my the arcs just hanging out from NetGalley on my Kindle. I'm bronzing with the Fenty Sunstalker bronzer, and this is the shade Caramel Cutie. Caramel, I say both. So the first one I read was the arc of another Tessa Bailey book, and it was Love Her or Lose Her, which is kind of like the companion to Fix Her Up, which we all know I love. And this one follows Rosie and Dominic, who are side characters in Fix Her Up. Rosie was part of Georgie's little, well, she's a founding member of their club, and Dominic works with Travis. That is not cute. Hold on. So Rosie and Dominic were high school sweethearts. They have been together forever. Got married like right out of high school, or was it right out of high school, like right before Dominic was deployed overseas. He is a veteran. So instead of the story of a couple getting together, this is the story of a couple staying together, because where the story starts, they have basically drifted apart. Rosie is happy to get a hello, how are you from him, except on their weekly, the day of their weekly like bang session. So she leaves, and Dominic is basically desperate to get her back, so she suggests extreme couples therapy, and to her surprise he agrees. At the same time, Rosie is finally following her dreams of opening a restaurant, and after the encouragement of their Just Us League, which is their little women's club, since the last Get Ready With Me, I have started powdering again. I've implemented setting powder back into my life. Baby steps, but I really, really like this Fenty powder. Oh my god, I take a shot every time I mention Fenty. I just use the barest amount. Really, most of it is tapped off. I focus mainly under my eyes because I just want that concealer to look as smooth as possible. So anyway, like I said, this is the story of a couple staying together instead of getting together. Just going into it, I had very extreme differing feelings. I was excited because I just dropped all that powder on my notes. Fantastic. I was excited because I really enjoyed Fix Her Up, and that was just kind of like the stepping stone of me getting into this genre. But at the same time, few people whose opinions that I trust as far as these type of books go didn't love it. They had complaints about like Dominic's personality and how like alpha male, I'm the man, this, that, and the other he was, which yes, he is. But I didn't find an issue with it. I gave this 4 out of 5 stars. I really liked the depth in the story that I generally feel like I'm lacking in a lot of the other books that I've read. I feel like because they were already a couple, there was already that like depth to them, that connection to them. I'm just gonna spritz that all down. That went in my mouth. While Dominic is very much the I'm the man, this is how this is supposed to be, I'm supposed to do this, I'm supposed to provide dude, I also am looking at it through the lens of the fact that he is a man of color. So, and that is very much a thought process, a way, a mentality that is rooted in communities of color, men of color. And while yes, it can be very, very toxic, I also understand it, looking at it from that point of view. And also we need to acknowledge the fact that Dominic does actively work on it throughout the book. That's how he's programmed. I get it, I've seen it, and I think I actually liked his personality more than Travis. I know, is that blasphemy? Whatever. It also was refreshing not to have baby girl every 3 seconds. Only 3 things. Oh, 3 things? Are there 3 things? Only few things that I have issue with. The first one is really ridiculous, but it's the fact that his name is Dominic. My cousin's name is Dominic, so it was really strange reading all the spicy bits with that name floating around in my head. I'll pass. Other thing is, I wish that, oh, it is 3 things, we had delved more into his mental state or psychological state, like coming back from war and just being overseas. We get brief flashes into like his thoughts about like the guys who didn't come home, but that's more so like him talking about what he doesn't have or hasn't accomplished, basically, as opposed to just how that actually affected his mental state. Only other thing is, I don't love the fact that we spent so much time between Fix Her Up and this book with Rosie becoming her own person, this independent woman who's finally like spreading her wings and living her dreams her way, just for, oh, spoiler, not really, just for Dominic to still like swoop back in and have some of that glory. I look real feverish. I love that for me. That's Milani blush. I don't really use anything else. I only use 3 blushes. It's either Red Vino from Milani, Coralina from Milani, or what is this shade? Or Bordeaux from ColourPop. So yeah, those are my main complaints, but I enjoy the book. I'll probably reread it when it actually comes out. When does it actually come out? I'll put it here. I don't have time to look for it. So, the next book I read was not an arc, but it is quite possibly my favorite romance that I read. One of, because I just read Get a Life, Chloe Brown, and I loved it. But this book is A Prince on Paper by Alyssa Cole. Y'all, I'm starting my eyes. So I need to get a new eye primer, but I'm priming my eyes with this Milani Retouch and Erase concealer, and I really appreciate that it's like super light so that it helps the eyeshadow pop. So, A Prince on Paper. This is a part of the Reluctant Royals series. Somehow I decided jumping in 3 books, or to the 3rd book of the series, was a good idea, but I've since downloaded the first one and I'm starting from the beginning, which means at some point I will most likely reread A Prince on Paper. This book follows Nia and Johan. Nia is the cousin, her cousin is marrying this African prince. She herself is is a part of a family of diplomats. They're there for the wedding ceremonies, and from what I've gathered, because I jumped in 3 books in, her cousin was almost murdered by her father, who is, like I said, a diplomat. Well, a displaced diplomat. He's in jail now. A disgraced diplomat. So that's kind of part of why going back home is hard for her, because she's dealing with that controversy and the judgment of the people around her. And Johan is her cousin's husband's best friend, and he is the stepson of the king of this faux Franco-German country, you know, in true Hallmark fashion. I'm gonna set my eyeshadow with something, I guess with one of these from the Too Faced Just Peachy Mattes palette. It's usually either peach butter or peach meringue. I don't know why I said butter like that. On the flight back, Nia realizes that she is sharing her plane with Johan, with Jojo, much to her dismay, because he is this party boy prince, a la Prince Harry back in the day. If there's a scandal, you can count on Johan being in the center of it. Alas, she also has this really strange, unexplainable crush on him. Somehow, because they are sharing the plane and the one little room, which has one bed, the rumors start spreading that they are a thing. Long story short, a lot of antics happen. They start kind of becoming friends during the whole wedding ceremony process thing. And they decide that fake dating is an option because it'll help his image at home and it'll help her family stop treating her like this fragile, incompetent girl. And then obviously fake dating becomes real dating, yada yada yada. So yeah, I obviously gave this book 5 out of 5 stars. I loved it. Actually, I want to move you closer because I'm doing my eyes. I loved it so much, and I definitely think Alyssa Cole is now like my favorite romance author. I loved, one, seeing this like very like sweeping romance, royal romance type situation with like a black main character. Love that for me. I absolutely loved Nia and Johan, Jojo. I love how complex they each were, how they had their own issues and kind of were willing to work through them together. I like all the surrounding characters, which is why I'm starting the series from the start. I love the surprise, like the sort of surprise LGBTQ element in it. I love that how much they reminded me of Meghan and Harry. I also love how, like, I guess respectful of Nia Johan is. Doesn't rush her to do any of the sex, and everything like they do is basically following her lead, like what she's comfortable with, what she wants. And I'm like, we stand. I don't know, did I decide what I'm doing with my eyes yet? I don't know. I think I'm just gonna start with Kiki. With Kiki from the Manny MUA, what is this? Life's a Drag palette. We're not gonna talk about it. I don't know what I'm doing. Do I ever know what I'm doing? No. It just turns out how it turns out. But yeah, I could keep gushing about this book. Definitely one of my fave romances. I love Jojo. He's such an undercover sweet being who just like cares about people so much. So, what did I read next? Oh, okay, back to arcs. Next, I read an arc of A Taste of Sage by Yafa S. Santos. I will put the editing Amber will put the release date here somewhere. So this book is another one involving cooking. This one follows Illuminata, who is a chef. At the start of the book, she has a restaurant, but she really can't keep up with the expenses, and she basically is forced to close down her restaurant. And eventually one of her friends helps her acquire a job at this bougie French restaurant in Manhattan. Well, at the start of the book, she's at a wedding that she's catering, and she meets this guy who is kind of like bashing on her cooking without really realizing that she's the caterer. Lo and behold, the owner of said fancy bougie French restaurant is the guy from the wedding, who also she is inexplicably attracted to, obviously. That is Julian. Is that his name? Who, like Johan, is a French-speaking ginger. Does that look okay? I don't know what I'm doing. So, basically from the moment he meets her, he is attracted to her and wants to get closer to her and get to know her. And so they kind of are able to get closer, I guess, working in the kitchen. I don't remember what else happens in this book, but there's a lot of drama. There's a lot of unnecessary like girl drama. I'm going into this My Color Pop palette that I kind of put together a bunch of shimmers from, and this is Tiny Tangerines. You wanna do something here, friend? Okay, I don't know. Did that pick up anything? Hello? Hello? I'm gonna use my finger. I am not describing this correctly. I also gave this book a 2 out of 5 stars. And I will tell you why in a second. Oh, that's better. Is this what I was going for today? I don't know. Is this the first time I've really used this color? Might be. Is that too much with the shirt? I just realized, is this the 80s? Are we doing matchy eyeshadow? I might have to fix it. Where was I? I gave this a 2. And I have a list of my issues with this book. So first and foremost, the writing of this book, the way this book is written, is so overly descriptive, like unnecessarily so. And I have, quote, the aroma of her gardenia lime bubble bath, or resting her curly haired head. And then a line later, like literally, I'm not exaggerating, her espresso colored curls. And part of me gets, because like she's a chef and a lot of her world, or I don't know, way she views the world is through scents and flavors and stuff, but it just felt like overkill. I don't know, I wasn't vibing with it. There were a lot of inconsistencies within the book. Like 1 minute, this is totally unrelated, sometimes I'm very nitpicky, I'm sorry. Like 1 minute Julian is texting and then it's like he ends the call and I'm like, what, huh? But on the other hand, since it's an arc, I'm not going to be too nitpicky about it. Adding some fishy, just bringing more blue than green into this look. Along with inconsistencies, the way time passes within this book is really weird. And I'm not just talking like weeks or months, I'm really talking about like 1 minute they're out eating and it's 12 o'clock and then suddenly it's 3 a.m. and we have no real idea that time has passed, because like the way it's written, you don't know that time has passed. Or like suddenly 1 minute they're making out on a counter and then next thing you know all of their clothes are off. When did that happen? I feel like this is a lot. Maybe it's also because the scarf's blue, so it just looks like a lot's going on. But we're here now. We've committed to it. This eye is way too high. Sometimes I'm really thankful that I wear glasses. Okay, this was a choice. Alright, I think I'm overreacting. I think it's gonna be okay. It's fine. It's fine. It's fine. It's fine. It's fine. There was also like no real clear distinction between their POVs. 1 minute we'd be in one of the characters like chapters, and then we have like thoughts and feelings from the other one. I'm like, who was talking? Who am I supposed to be like vibing with right now? I have no idea what's going on. Oh, okay, this is just a pet peeve. Once again, fingers going up, spoiler alert. Homeboy is so hyper focused on like cleanliness, and he stress cleans his bathroom in one scene, but yet they like have full sex on the kitchen counter in his restaurant, and then they proceed to fall asleep on the counter. Make that make sense. So it's also like there's supposed to be all this fire and passion between them, that they both describe it as such, but I never really seem to get it. I seem to miss it. I'm picking up trust issues from the Jackie Aina Anastasia palette, and I'm putting that, because when in doubt, add shimmer. Ooh, that's nice. There's so much lacking between them. The conflict that happens is so stupid. It's so stupid and could have been resolved in a breath. But no, he answers her question. And then her reaction is so out of left field. It's not even laughable. Ma'am, are you good? I felt like there were way too many pointless filler scenes. Both of their characters are so flat. They have no they have no personalities. They don't know anything about each other. And like they're both sort of like given these sort of quirks, and we're never really giving any insight as to why they do some of the things that they do, you know? I don't know what I just did here. And I feel like learning some of those things would have really given them depth, but who needs that when you have passionate sex in bougie French kitchens? Am I satisfied with that? I don't know. So the next arc I read was The Kissing Game by Marie Hart. This one follows, I don't remember her name. Is it Rena and Axel? Rena is a hairstylist. She just opened her hair salon, and Axel is a mechanic or something. He does like auto body for cars. They met when she used to work at the local bar in the more questionable part of town, and he's like been in love with her the whole time but hasn't made a move. And at the start of the book, she's ready to like stop waiting for him to make a move, which kind of spurs him into action, and he's determined to convince her to date him, fall in love with him, be his Valentine. Starts off with a kissing game, literally. I don't even remember what I rated this. I'm sure it was like a 2. This one got under my skin, I think. Big angry dude always fighting people. Oh, okay. Also, like I said, this started with a kissing game. This literally started with a bet. I bet you a kiss. The entire structure of this is so weird. Also, this has nothing really to do with this book in particular, but can y'all recommend me some tall girl romance books? Because I'm tired of all these like 6'9" guys dating these like 2-foot women. Come on. If you know of some good romance books with some tall girls in them, please send them my way. As a tall girl, I am begging you from my soul. Oh my god. So Rena is black. Not that you would know that unless you were told. I'll get into that in a second. So I'm assuming that her cousins that are also side characters are also black. I could be wrong. She could be mixed and we're never told that. But her mom's black. Anyway, I'm assuming, I could have read it wrong, but I'm assuming that her cousin, who is black, is married to a white man. And then there is a whips and chains joke. And not necessarily like in the kinky, sticks and stones may break my bones, but chains and whips excite me. Not that. He says, the husband says, something like, I had to get the chains and whips to keep you in line. And I don't know. That just doesn't. No thank you. Keep that. You can keep that joke. I did not laugh. It was not funny. Like I was saying, Rena's black, but it's fairly obvious that the author is not, and the author has no real experience with the communities that she's supposed to be representing within this book. Even like there are some gay characters, but and it's also fairly obvious that, for lack of a better word, she didn't do research going into it. There was a scene where she was like, I'll get my hair for you, and if it's droopy in the morning, don't say anything. And I'm like, droopy? Am I wrong about? I just never described my natural hair as droopy, because if it's gonna get all wet, it's not gonna droop. It's gonna actually go in the other direction. And if I'm sleeping in it, it being droopy is the least of my worries. My worries are the frizz and the tangles. Also, there are like vague mentions of things she puts in her hair, but like, what are they? What are the things? What are the things? Also, she's still blonde with light eyes, but we're gonna zoop past that. Even the way she talks about dealing with racism and living and working in a predominantly white area, even the fact there comes a point where there are little hate crimes against her, and she just kind of very, like, kind of rattled, but more so concerned about her shop than her safety. I think the author was trying to make, like, I don't see color black woman. I already talked about that. I'm gonna get my hair wet for you. I'm sorry, I'm still upset. Also, I could go the rest of my life without reading the phrase teethed him. She teethed him. What? Once again, the diversity in this book seemed very forced. Even the fact that Axel is German, and I feel like instead of even hitting up Google Translate for a few phrases, like, he said something in German. Or another character said something in Spanish. Now I know you could have gotten some basic Spanish in there. I already mentioned that she didn't seem to have any like real knowledge of the communities represented. Even, like I mentioned, there are some weird undertones regarding like LGBTQ people, and I could be reading too much into it, but it just didn't sit right with me. I just didn't like this book at all. No. Okay, and then I finally was able to get back to some YA fantasy, and that book, did I finish my makeup? I think I'm still deciding if I'm done, so we're just gonna finish talking about the books first. That book, I have been trying to finish this book for like for half a year. Shadow of the Fox by Julie Kagawa. I started reading this book, I think, for the reading rush, so that was in the summer, and then I couldn't really get into it, and much like I mentioned with The Beautiful, and like the same thing I did when I first started reading We Hunt the Flame, I didn't want to ruin the reading experience, so I put it down because I had looked on Goodreads and a lot of people love this book, so I'm like, okay, this must just be a me thing. I'm gonna pick it up again. I'm glad I did. I'm glad. Is this focused? I don't know. I'm glad I waited. I'm glad I put it down and waited till I really couldn't put it off anymore, because I really wanted to finish reading this book before the end of the year. This book follows Yumiko. Why did I say her name like that? Yumiko and Tatsumi. Yumiko is a half kitsune who was raised in this temple, and at the start of the book, the temple is attacked by some oni. An oni? Was there more than one? A bunch of demons killed everybody. Their mission was to acquire this piece of the dragon scroll, and when put together, this scroll will grant the dragon's wish. It has the potential to like bring like world destruction. So Yumiko is tasked with protecting it, taking it to this other, it's like the Wind's Temple or something, to the only person who basically can protect it and keep it out of the wrong hands. On the flip side of that is Tatsumi, who is this shadow assassin samurai warrior who also wields this sword possessed by a demon, and the longer the wielder wields it, the more susceptible they are to succumbing to the demon. He is also sent to get this piece of the scroll, except he gets there after Yumiko has run off. They meet in the forest. He saves her, and she obviously hides the fact that she has the scroll, but they team up to get to the Wind Temple. I'm gonna keep calling it that. She basically convinces him that it was already sent there, I think, and she will help him get it if he helps her get there, something like that. along the way, a lot of drama ensues because they are not the only people looking for this piece of the scroll. A lot of people want it. A lot of people want to wield that power, so they are on high alert at all times, and there are a couple attacks, and I just really enjoyed this book. I'm so glad I went back to it. I really liked the dynamic between Tatsumi and Yumiko. I enjoy the other characters we meet along the way. I am excited to go into book 2. The way this book ended, I'm already stressed out. I don't know why I can't have nice things, but I really liked Yumiko's character. I also like that this book doesn't really have any sort of romance. There is sort of like curiosity and maybe budding attraction that will possibly be explored in, if not the next book, because I'm not sure how that'll work. Maybe because I think the third one's about to come out. Regardless, I really like the mythology within this and all of the mythical creatures, the kitsune and the other mythical creatures. I love a bit of Asian mythology. Also, when I first got this book, a friend of mine told me that it reminded them of season 3B of Teen Wolf, which is my favorite season. That's when we get Oni and Kitsune, and I could definitely feel those vibes. In fact, I really wish that Teen Wolf had really, this is what I'm mad about. They did Kira dirty, because we could have had so much with her storyline, with after she went off to the desert to learn about being a kitsune. We could have had so much. We could have had all of these other Japanese mythical creatures entwined with her story instead of like what we got at the end. Anyway, I'm excited to pick up book 2. Maybe I'll get it today when I go to the bookstore. We'll see. Very curious to see what happens with that sword. And the last book that I read in December was one that I almost forgot I wanted to read in winter. I got it earlier this year with the Shelf Love Crate box, and it's Romanoff by Nadine Brandes. Now, going into this was on my list of anticipated reads of 2019. I have always loved Anastasia. First of all, I love history and historical fiction, and I've always been fascinated with the story of the Romanoff family and also like the conspiracy theories surrounding their deaths, and specifically Anastasia. I don't know why I just said her name like that. So this is a retelling, reimagining, magical reimagining of the Romanovs and kind of like their last days in, I guess, captivity. And this follows Anastasia, obviously, or Nastia, as she and her family are being imprisoned, and then they're moved to like the smaller house, the place in which they die. This is not a spoiler for the book or history. Read. Google's free. But oops, there's also like a magical element to this. Magic is involved in this whole storyline, and it's involved with what happens. Because I said this in my reading blog, it was very stressful reading this because I know how their story ends. I'm just like, okay, when's it going to happen? When is this going to happen? And then it happens. I'm like, all right, I'm halfway through the book, so what happens now? I really like the fact that there's a what happens now type twist, and just like a reimagining of what happened to Nastia after her family was slaughtered. I really enjoyed this. It was a quick read. I enjoyed it a lot more than I thought I was going to. I knew I was going to really enjoy it. Obviously, like I just said, all of the things I listed. Anastasia, historical fiction, a story I've always been fascinated with. But I really liked this. I really liked the characters. I really liked the message of family and forgiveness and just hope. Also, I was laughing because there's a lot in this story that reminds me of the book that I'm writing, and I'm just like, am I writing an Anastasia retelling? And I did not realize that. Maybe. I think I would give this a 4.5, 5 out of 5 stars. Loved it a lot. And I definitely want to pick up Ian's other book, Fox. We'll see if I ever get around to that. So those are all the books that I read in December. I had quite the month. So let me figure out what I'm going to do with my face, because I only have a few minutes before I need to leave. I need to clean up that eyeshadow. This isn't bad. I like it. I do want to add some Beat from the Mani palette. into my inner corner. This is my favorite shadow for inner corner highlight. I also just love it in general. So what I'm gonna do, I'm going to clean up the eyeshadow and then I'll pop on some mascara and liner, but I'll probably just show you that later. Anyway, thank you for watching this ridiculousness. Let me know what your favorite read of December is and what you're reading now. I'm currently between a couple of books. I'm reading The Light Between Worlds by Laura E. Weymouth. I'm not sure how I think about it yet. I'm reading New Moon by Stephanie Meyer, so look out for that vlog. I just started another e-arc. I don't remember what it's called right now. I'm only a few pages in. I think that's it. And I'm still reading The Beautiful by, or I've started The Beautiful by Renee Ahdieh. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. If you like me, feel free to subscribe. All my places are down here so you can follow me. And I'll follow you back and I'll see you very soon.